Hi, Brian.
Again.
Thanks so much for joining me here today.
It's a pleasure.
I'm excited to introduce Brian DeLude, candidate for Berlin Mayor. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for work?
Yeah, thank you, Danny. I am a program manager at the state of Connecticut, the judicial branch. I work for the agency of the branch that works with folks that are in community supervision for a variety of reasons. I personally oversee and work with our contracted provider network as it relates to substance treatment, mental health treatment, behavior change, and a lot of those sort of things that really help to have clients that are on community supervision get the services they need so that they can go forward and be gainful citizens. So that's really what my day-to-day is. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a lot.
It is. So that is what I do for a living. And it's good for me because it really is who I am too, in terms of wanting to, make the community better, have a better state of Connecticut, and by default, a better town of Berlin and things of that nature.
Nice.
So it's always been who I am. I actually wanted to work for the state early on because there was a wide array of different agencies that I thought their purpose was to help people. Nice. And that was part of who I was.
Sounds like you really like what you do.
I do. I really, really do. And especially when I get to see the firsthand results of clients that are really just sort of, turning their lives around in a positive way, being a little bit removed from the day-to-day work with the clients. I don't get to see it as often, but every time I see it, it is special and it re-energizes me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. What else do you do when you're not working?
There's not a whole lot of not working. So
okay.
Just real quick, I do two other jobs. I host trivia at two locations
Nice.
Here in Berlin. I work for a company called DJ Trivia, but that's been a blast. And actually that's given me an opportunity to really connect with a lot of the folks here in Berlin and get
Nice.
to know a lot of Berlin individuals between the two locations that I work. And then I also work for a small business in Plainville that is owned and operated by two women, and it's amazing. They run it's called Plainville Indoor Sports Arena. They run a deck hockey / roller hockey facility, and they have owned it. One of the women bought it from their father when he was looking to pass it down. And I do a lot for them. I've refereed, score capped. I work their desk. I do whatever they need. They're nice. Fabulous. So those are some of the things I do.
And you're a hockey player too?
In the sense that I'm out there. I used to be a little bit better, but this is roller and deck hockey.
Nice.
I had some moments of where I was actually okay, but nice. Now I'm the old guy that maybe, time might saying like maybe that's enough, but we'll see. Right. But I'm still doing it.
Nice, yeah. Nice. And you've raised your family here in Berlin. Tell me about them.
We have, yes. So I have a daughter who is, going to be 20 actually next week.
That's crazy.
She's at Eastern Connecticut State University, and I have a son who is 18, and he is going to the University of South Carolina. They both came up through the Berlin school system. We actually made it a point to move. We were living in East Hampton, Connecticut, and that was a little bit different for me because I grew up in Meriden, right down the street from Berlin. And the center of the state felt like home to me. And my wife, a wonderful human being, she grew up in Jewett City out east. Oh, wow. So she actually came to East Hampton. It felt more urban to me. It significantly felt more rural to me. So then we've sort of compromised and nice. We were looking in the center of the state and Berlin just kept popping. It just nice. Kept popping. So and we moved here when my daughter was just about to start kindergarten. So nice. We were able to get her in. And so that she can have the continuous Berlin school system experience. So,
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And what did they say when you told them you wanted to run?
Well, I talked to my wife about it about a year ago, and she is totally supportive. I mean, she definitely says it is not something that I can do, but I definitely support it, and she's proud of me. And my kids they're excited about it. I mean, and they're looking forward to it, and they obviously think that I'd be really good at it, but which I hope they would. So,
nice. And so at this point in the process, you're looking to gain the nomination from the Berlin Democratic Town Committee, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. So right now, really what's going on is I have a campaign. So I've opened up a campaign and registered it with the town. And, this is with the idea of looking to seek the Democratic endorsement in July. And, so that's my goal right now. But right now it's, we're doing our thing. We're running our campaign. I have an amazing team that's kind of coming together. Some really beautiful, wonderful people. And we're just trying to get our message out there, trying to let Berlin know who Brian DeLude is and, go from there. And then hopefully in July, if all goes well, we'll make that official and we'll move on and we'll take it to the next level and we'll take that forward to November.
Nice. So starting with some fundraising, I'm assuming, and then looking to get your platform out there. What do you want to bring to Berlin?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I can tell you the top thing that's important to me is community, is a sense of community. In fact, I think in order to kind of talk about that, I mean, I should probably say why I even had this thought.
Yeah.
I mentioned, my wife and I have been talking about it for a little while. So a few years ago, it started with a little bit of an itch, for lack of a better word, or almost a calling when the Board of Ed opportunity presented itself when I actually didn't get in. So this was a year that they had a vacancy and they had posted the idea that they were going to do interviews to fill somebody who had resigned from the board. So I went to that interview process and I talked to my wife about it. And I was like, listen, this school system's been really good to us. We've had to take advantage of some of the services that are provided. And I was like, it's time to give back. I mean, I want to give back to the community and to the Board of Ed. So I didn't get it in the interview process, but then I was like, well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So I ran, because whoever got that was only there for a year. Then they too had to rerun. So I ran, and the first time I got beat, and I was like, okay. The second time I had a chance to run, COVID kind of hit, and things got a little bit confusing, and it just wasn't the right time. At work, we had to pivot all of our service to a virtual paradigm, so it just wasn't the right time. And then, a year or two later after that the right time hit, I ran, I was able to get in, and it's been an amazing experience. But in the course of that experience, I really started to see a glimpse of what's going on in the town. I started to see a glimpse between, how much I value education and then sort of some of the, the barriers towards trying to really fund the educational system in a way that I think the town deserves, the parents deserve, and even individuals who don't have kids in the school system deserve. I mean, a positive and a powerful school system is good for the entire community. So, and then some of the politics or the, I would just suggest the mental barriers or just the closed-mindedness of some of the decision-making process and the people that have the ability to impact that decision-making process. And to be honest, some of the lack of empathy I saw towards the situation. Wow. And I can almost remember the exact moment that I was like, I need to once again put my money where my mouth is. And I think I want to get involved and I want to sort of start talking about how can I help the town?
Yeah.
What can I do so that, the things that I see that I think are sort of a barrier. And again, it comes back to what I was talking about, that sense of community.
Yeah.
I think the talk had been pretty divisive. There wasn't a lot of effort to understand one another. There wasn't a lot of effort to sort of display that empathy, to really think about it in a more holistic fashion, or just to ask questions like, hey, you feel that way. Tell me why you think the school needs more money or why these positions are important as opposed to we don't need that. Like that's,
right.
You can do all those types of conversations. So, and I just felt like I can do better. My goal here is to really bring the town hopefully to the middle, come together, be pleasant to one another to begin with, Yeah. And this may sound weird, but I really want to get it out there. When did it become un-American to try to see both sides of an opinion? When did it become, you are either here or here?
Right.
You're a Democrat, I won't talk to you. You're a Republican, I won't talk to you. I don't subscribe to that, and I will not get on board with that. I think good ideas are good ideas.
Yeah.
I think more often than not, the best idea is together with everyone and bringing it together and coming to a consensus. So I think all those things will really start to build a good, positive community. I think Berlin has a really good community, and there's a lot of things here. I think it's a great place to raise your family. We can do better, and we can be better.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Well, and it sounds like on the Board of Education, having a nonpartisan Board of Ed, I'm assuming you've got all kinds of opinions. You're trying to come to a consensus, trying to agree on certain things, and talking, I guess, what they call across the aisle, but just talking to people, right, is what you're having some good success with.
And it's interesting because the nonpartisanship of the Board of Ed, and I think it is the only board, or I remember maybe there's another board in the state of Connecticut, or maybe one more that's nonpartisan. That was attractive to me. And again, it's not because I'm looking to say like the idea of being a Democrat is unattractive to me. I mean, I've been a Democrat my whole life. I do, believe in the democratic values in a lot of ways. But again, I think that centrist opinion, that moderate opinion is where we should really be. But the nonpartisanship of the board was really attractive. Yeah. And I will say that the folks that are on the board, I honestly, didn't really know what their party affiliation was, and I was okay with that. And it was that conversation about we're here, our focus and our mission is to provide the best school system here in Berlin that we can. What needs to happen for us to do that and for us to advocate for that? So, and by and large, the conversations I think were healthy. There was always some disagreement or some, what have you, but it never came from a, almost a synthetic, my party line is this.
Right. Right.
And I thought that was pure and it felt good. And that's exactly what I would like to do and bring to the town council and to the town of Berlin.
Yeah. Yeah. I've known you for a long time now, almost 15 years, I think we just figured out. And I've always known you to be someone who listened, right? Whether it was an idea back on the PTO at Hubbard or whether it was about something totally unrelated to town. Like you always wanted to know what somebody thought, always wanted to hear the whole, not cutting them off in the middle, wanted to hear the whole story, the whole, way things play out. And I imagine that would be a big strength as you go to a town council that's not always on the same page, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I give a little bit of credit to, again, being, a state employee in the judicial branch. I had the opportunity to go to the Covey training, 7 Habits of the Most Effective People.
Oh, right, yeah.
And one of the things that really resonated and stood out was listen with the intent to understand, not to reply, right? And that's one place. And then totally solidified by my favorite TV character ever, Ted Lasso, which is, be curious, not judgmental, right? And those two things come together. It's people are speaking. And this is what I've learned throughout my life. Doing some of the jobs that I've done in my professional experience, talking to people. You may think in the moment that you know what somebody needs or wants or what they're going to say, such that you feel like I don't even need them to finish. I'm just going to cut them off. But for them, it's a personal message. Yeah. It is something that for them, they're bringing it up not because they want to waste your time, because it's important to them. Allowing them to be heard, feel heard, and actually then, responding in is how you really start to gain that trust and build those more trusting relationships. In my professional, before I was at CSSD, the agency I'm at now, I was at an agency at the judicial branch called Support Enforcement, which is where we were trying to get individuals who owe child support to pay that child support.
That doesn't sound easy.
No, it wasn't, but it was that style of let me hear you. Yeah. I mean, these are people that were facing potential contempts of court and some time in prison or in jail if they weren't able to pay, but hearing them, and even if it didn't go their way, having the compliment of, but you treated me like an adult, you treated me like a man, you treated me like a woman, instead of a deadbeat or somebody. Yeah. And again, that's where I learned how important and invaluable that approach was. Yeah. I guess it's you get more flies with honey approach, but.
Yeah. Well, I think you're talking about communication, listening, respect, not boxing somebody into some position before you even know them or get to hear what they're saying. I imagine that communication is even more challenging on a bigger level, right? When you're talking one-on-one, those are skills you clearly have nailed down. On the larger town level, how do you imagine you could improve the communication? I know there's a town manager and then a mayor and then the board of finance. But how does all that work together? How do you help people understand the actual process?
Absolutely. And I think that's a great question. And I'm going to start with the concept of transparency. Okay. And not just transparency, on sort of the X's and the O's or the real logisticals, the budgets and things like this, but transparency about intent too, about vision, to sort of talk about it again from my professional experience. So part of my role is to bring several different entities, statewide entities together to sort of, plow towards a common goal, right? And there's some competing agendas, not with any malice, but, so we're talking about 3 different disciplines within CSSD, our pretrial, our family services, our probation, the provider network, the stakeholders, the community at large. So for me, what I've come to learn is being very transparent in what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Here's our vision. Here's how I'd like to go about it. I want your feedback on that. And then again, being genuine in that. People start to trust you. They don't think there's ulterior motives. They feel like your intent is pure. Yeah. And then you get honest responses, you get honest feedback, and you also get willingness to buy in and willingness to build consensus. Right. Okay, I hear what you're saying here, Brian. Let's meet in the middle and let's get this done. Yeah. And so it's that sort of thing that I would love to bring to the town council into the position of mayor. It's like, what do we all know? Let's get all that on the table. Right. Let's make sure we're all reading on the same page from the same book.
Right.
And then let's talk about how would we all how would we make that better, and how do we mold that into the best product that it can be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because you're talking about if you offer communication or respect, you're much more likely to get listening and respect back from the other side.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's kind of magic, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, trust seems like such an important piece of the equation. And if people trust you, then they're like, oh, like, I'm going to go find Brian because I want to tell him how I feel about Bright Feeds or the East Berlin Pool or about the Board of Ed budget or whatever, right? Like, so I think you're also talking about accessibility, right? Making sure that people know that they can talk to you,
Absolutely.
that you're available to them, and that the communication from the town council or for the mayor's office to the town about those issues. I mean, obviously there's been changes with the Berlin Citizen. Facebook isn't always the easiest way to communicate, right? So trying to find ways to share that information, again, the back and forth, right? Then people feel like they can come to you because you're sharing with them.
Absolutely. And I think those are the things that I would definitely look to sort of build up. The hows and the whys. Again, I don't pretend to be an expert on any one thing, so, but, I've been in this town for, quite a while now. And like, I've never really seen it, and maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I don't think that's the case. Proactive communication about the things that the town are trying to accomplish and how they're trying to accomplish it. And the things that I, as a citizen of the town, should be paying attention to, and you can go, you got to go to the meetings, you've got to go to the webpage and then, dig 3 layers deep to try to get some of this information. I'd rather just bring it to the community, given the opportunity, and say, hey, here's what we're facing, here's what we're looking at. And hopefully with that trust that I can build, there's no sense that, there's an agenda, there's a political agenda, an ulterior motive. It's more just, this is purely what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And the one thing I do want to say, though, all that breaks down if you don't have a solution-focused mindset to this.
Okay.
I mean, learning the lessons from wherever you are and how can you do better is super important. Assigning blame, trying to figure out whose fault it was, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That's not important. I mean, if it's more about here's where we are, how do we move forward, how do we take the lessons learned and build them back into the day-to-day or the infrastructure of decision making.
Right. I appreciate that. I feel like I've been able in town to be sort of intermittently involved in things. And when something comes up, then I'll dig 3 layers into the website to try to figure it out, try to find the right meeting to go to figure out what I'm supposed to learn. And when I ask questions, I often feel like I get defensiveness. Oh, well, you weren't here at the other meeting, or you should have known about this sooner, or we did our best. Why are you judging us? When I mean to be asking open questions, right? And so what I think I hear you saying is that, if somebody's coming to you with questions, you want to share as much information as you can.
Absolutely.
Right? Without being defensive, without blaming, without, pointing fingers to say like, this was a tough situation and we didn't necessarily, have a lot of choice, or maybe we didn't even make the best choice, right? If I could do it again, maybe I would have done it like this. But that accountability goes along with the trust building, goes along with the communication, builds a nice package.
It does indeed. Yeah. And that accountability is important. And just saying like, yeah, hey, listen, we learned a couple of lessons there too. And, and we're going to improve upon those for sure. But the accessibility you speak of is so very important. I mean, that is something, again, that's helped me build the trust in my professional life.
Yeah.
Reach out to me, contact me. I don't care like what layer of leadership or any of that hierarchical type of thing is, just nothing that's ever mattered to me. It's like, the best ideas can come from anywhere, and how do you move forward with that? So I do think it is that public presence, the accessibility. I'm an average guy. I think that's what I own, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I celebrate that. I want to be just one of the people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, look what Brian did. I want to be, look what Berlin did.
Yeah.
Look what the people of Berlin can do. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is a pretty awesome town. I've been here a long time too now, and I think we can accomplish some pretty amazing things. And I think that having you at the helm has got some strong potential.
I hope so, for sure. I agree with you. It's been, again, I've been talking about community. That's probably the one bullet point that I didn't even get past, because through that is so many layers of the things that I think sort of come into that. But, the town of Berlin, I mean, if you look at what it has to offer, the amenities and the things, and even though I think there are improvements that can be made, and there's decisions to be made, community center, no community center, pools, no pools, splash pads, all these things, right? One of the things that I really haven't lost sight of is, like, these are not the worst problems to have. These are good problems to have for a community, right? I mean, we are a solid foundational community of people that I think have the family values. They want to raise their children in an area where they feel safe. They want to raise their children in an area where they feel like people respect one another. But I do think some of that's breaking down, right? And that's again where I want to come in. And it's let's stop that. Let's stop that. I will listen to you. And in fact, oh my gosh, I don't even know if this is going to drive my point home or not. But when I look at my Facebook feed, and yes, it's still Facebook for me. I've never wandered beyond Facebook. It's about all I could absorb. But I look and I really have such a wide array of Facebook friends from all political spectrums. And they're all genuine friends. They're not like, oh, I once met this person 3 years ago and I'm going to friend them. I mean, like people that I spend time with. Yeah. I have people that are supporting this campaign that are far right, far left, both sides, in the middle. Yeah. And that's something that I'm proud of. And I think that speaks to that they believe in my vision.
Yeah.
So.
And we do live in a very purple town, right? I mean, there's a lot of vocal red, there's some blue, there's a lot going on. And I think it sounds like you're wanting to really walk both sides of that, really be able to listen to both sides, develop trust with both sides, really hear what's going on for everybody in town because everybody counts. Yes. Right?
And everybody's story is their story. Confirmation bias is not something I want. I mean, I don't want that. I don't need to feel validated. If you totally disagree with me, I want to hear about that.
Absolutely.
Because what am I, maybe I'm missing something. Yeah. Again, and I think that's one of the problems with politics on a grand scale. It's like, politicians say something and then they're like forever, even if I no longer believe with it, I got to plow forward. Like, no, I think good leadership is taking the information and pivoting or making the adjustments as you learn things. I mean, like, hey, listen, this is what we were thinking, but since we've learned this, this, and this, we think this might be a little bit of a better path. I'm not going to stick to this to show like I was right from the beginning. That's not how I want to be. I can imagine actually
you feeling like if lots of people are complaining that you're actually succeeding because those people are trusting you enough to be able to come to you with their concern. And then that's how you build those relationships over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's tough. Like, I don't want to lie about it. You're never going to make everybody happy. No, there's going, and in fact, in my, endeavor to, become the Democratic candidate and then eventually the mayor of Berlin, I've been talking to anybody and everybody who will talk to me. And it's a wide array of priorities that people have. And it's like, okay, so there's a lot of different voices out there for a lot of different issues. And that is challenging. But again, I think at the end of the day, if they know you're hearing them and you're doing what you can to improve their situation, I think there's some leeway there. Well, or at least telling them why you can't do it.
Sure. Yeah, that honesty. I never really thought about a campaign like that before, but ultimately you're going to spend all these months trying to collect information, right? Like you're knocking on a door and somebody's telling you about this issue and you're like, okay, let me, and now you've got 40 people who thought this and 20 people who thought that, and you're kind of tallying it up so that you can create some agenda items that you might want to move forward with because the people in town are actually telling you what their concerns are.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there's the majority of the Berlin residents are concerned about this or that, then that's what we need to tackle for sure. Yeah. But I don't want the people on the fringes to feel lost in that too, though, you know? Right. One of the things at work is, we hear ideas and they're great ideas, but we're just not poised to do it in the moment. But we never forget about them. And then if, whether it be 2 years, 5 years down the road, we've actually done stuff that people had mentioned years ago and say, now's the time and we have the resources. That's so, cool. And just, even just acknowledging like, hey, Danny, I haven't forgot about your real desire to have an East Berlin pullback, right? So like, I haven't forgotten about that, but that won't go off our radar.
Right.
I think people can tolerate that as long as they see progress though, if there's.
Well, and honestly, if they feel heard. Right? Exactly. I mean, even if you said, like, we're never going to have an East Berlin pool again, but I hear what you're saying, I'll be like, okay, I'm sorry. I wish I could have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know you're just getting the ball rolling, but is there a way already for people to either donate to your campaign or contact you with concerns or thoughts or questions or wanting to volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, certainly volunteers are more than welcome for sure. In fact, again, the more the merrier, because the more people that I get to meet, I think the more I can understand this town, and you never understand it enough. We do have a website that's just kind of brand new. It's still being built, but it is actually accessible. It's brianforberlin.com. Nice. There is the donation opportunity is there, as well as, eventually there's going to be the events and all the other things. There are going to be some fundraisers coming out. And again, I want them just to be good old fashioned fun times. I mean, I'm going to be
Trivia
honest.
night?
Yeah, trivia night we're trying to build. You know, a couple other things that we're looking to do.
Awesome.
I've had some other ideas that I don't want to say too much about yet in case they don't come to fruition. But like, you know, I know you have kids that are in theater. I have kids that are in theater. I was like, why don't we get some sort of a theater night together? You know what I mean, or something.
Yeah.
You know, the fundraising piece of politics is not really, to me, it's like I'd honestly rather people be able to donate to worthwhile charities, you know, but like this is what it takes. I mean, this is you know, this is politics as we know it. I want to get my message out. I think I'd be really good for this town, and this is what it takes. So, but let's have some fun along the way.
Yeah,
and that is who I am. You know, like I don't take myself too seriously. You know, even when you were saying, I think one of the things about you is you don't I always wanted to interrupt you just for the joke of it, right? Because that's who I am, you know, and that's kind of the person who I always will be, and that's how I've been on the BOE. And again, I think that authentic, genuine, but just like somebody you feel like you could approach, not an elitist, not, you know,
He's a regular guy.
But again, I think the role of the mayor is to be the one to initiate that, though.
Yeah.
You know, don't have people come to you and find out, oh, he's a good person, she's a good person. Go out there and show them you're a good person.
Right.
You take that initiative. You're the one that's in leadership.
Yep.
That's your role.
Yep. I love it. Awesome. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I just appreciate it. I mean, anyone, you know, who is I'm going to try to be get out to the community over the next bunch of months. Door knocking is something I plan on doing.
Yeah.
Please open the door. Right. You know, like talk to me. Like, I don't care if you disagree with me. And again, you know, I've had people say, oh, you're running on this party. Like, slam the door or whatever already. And don't tell me why. You know, I want to hear that. We don't have to agree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear you. I want to know you.
Right.
And at the end of this, at the very least, my gosh, I hope I get to meet a ton of amazing new people. Right. And when I'm out and about in town, you know, that I have a lot of new sort of people that I can talk to and hear from. So
awesome.
So please let's just enjoy the ride together. And
it's gonna be fun.
You know, give me a chance. Be open-minded.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it.